What's up, everyone? In this video, I just wanted to have a little conversation. I actually made some coffee without an epic B-roll segment, but I just wanted to have a conversation about the Panasonic GH5. Is the GH5 actually a cinema camera? If you're new here, my name is Caleb, and I've been doing freelance video production since 2012, but this channel is to help you make your own videos, whether you just started or you've been making them for a while, whether you use the GH5 or any other camera. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So I guess the overall answer to whether or not the GH5 is actually a cinema camera is no. It's more of a hybrid photo video camera. But I just wanted to go over some things that makes the GH5 probably one of the most cinema style cameras for the price point and in the hybrid category, other than the new Sony a7S III that was just launched. There's so many features to the GH5 that make it a cinema style camera. But first, let's look at some of the things that the GH5 is missing that cinema cameras actually have that really make them cinema style cameras. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to go over that the GH5 is missing is actually internal RAW recording. A lot of times the cinema style cameras like the Pocket 4K, they're going to have internal RAW recording, which is amazing for any type of color grading. So probably the best codec that you're going to get on the GH5 is the All-I H.264 and 10-bit 422, but it does not have internal RAW recording. And sometimes for filmmakers, that's a make or break. They like having that RAW recording. So the GH5 is missing the internal RAW recording. Another thing is that the GH5 does not record internally in ProRes. Now, if you've ever worked with ProRes files, you know the beauty, simplicity, and overall ease of editing, but the GH5 does not shoot in ProRes. However, that's where some of the external recorders come in. I've talked a lot about the Atomos Ninja V or 5 and how you can record ProRes with the GH5. And even though the files are huge, you get some awesome playback and recording. And I just really like the quality of the ProRes files, even the ProRes Lite. So the GH5 is missing internal ProRes recording. Another feature that the GH5 is missing that a lot of cinema style cameras have are the built-in ND filters. You're gonna have to toss an ND filter on the end of your lens. Variable ND is usually a better route to go, but you cannot shuffle through ND filters like you can on cinema style cameras. A lot of times these ND filters aren't a make or break for filmmakers, but it is a convenience factor when you have like a button right here where you can just shuffle through the different weights of the NDs, and that especially comes in handy when you're in like a run and gun filming situation. But you sort of get the same effect if you toss a variable ND on the end of the lens. That can help, but it does not have built-in ND filters. Now, another thing about the GH5 that is missing is the SSD recording. I know with the Pocket 4K, you're able to record to the SSD through a USB-C, but if you're okay recording on either like an SD card or recording externally to a monitor, I don't think the SSD is a make or break for filmmakers. I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about the GH5? Is the GH5 actually a cinema camera? Are we being tricked? Okay, I know that I said that the GH5 is not technically a cinema camera. It's more of a hybrid photo video camera. But here's why I think personally the GH5 is more of a cinema camera in this hybrid price point than almost all of the other ones. With the GH5, you do have 10-bit 422 color internal recording. Now, it's not easy on your editor, but you're gonna get some great color control with that 10-bit 422. So a lot of cameras at this price point and in this style, they don't have the 10-bit 422 color. You're either in 10-bit 420 or just straight up 8-bit. So with the GH5, you can record in 10-bit 422. And another point is that unless you have the GH5S, you can get Vlog for the GH5. It's a separate purchase. And so recording 10-bit 422, you'll have a ton of control over that color in the image. Along with that, one of the awesome features is that you actually can shoot in a Cinema 4K format. So this powerful feature of Cinema 4K is you're able to shoot in 4096 by 2160 in 10-bit 422 at 400 megabytes per second. Now, coming out of this little body of the GH5, that is a powerful image. Another feature of the GH5 that makes it so much like a cinema style camera is the shutter angle over the shutter speed. So you're gonna be able to go into the menu and So you're going to be able to go into the menu and shut your setters. So you're going to be able to go into the menu and set your shutter speed as a shutter angle. So any frame rate that you change, it's going to automatically change the shutter speed to match your frame rate so that you can just go and shoot and you don't have to worry about setting that every single time, whether you go to 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second, 180 frames per second. You're going to know that your shutter speed is set right because of that shutter angle. So I actually set my shutter angle and I just leave it there all the time because I'm shooting video all the time on the GH5. So that's something that I set, leave, and don't ever change. And then talking about variable frame rate, that's my next point, is that the GH5 has awesome variable frame rate options. So in the variable frame rate, you're able to shoot up to 4K 60, and in high definition, you're able to go up to 180 frames per second. It gets a little muddy at 180, so I usually keep it at 120, but having those variable frame rates processed in camera is just an awesome feature. So for me personally, I feel like shooting in variable frame rates saves some editing time, so I don't have to go in and interpret the footage. I know that straight out of camera, I'm getting the frame rate that I want to help tell the story of whatever I'm putting together. Now, another thing that makes the GH5 more of a cinema camera are just the cinema tools that it comes with. So in here, you have things like the waveform, vector scope, histogram. You have the zebras and focus peaking. You have all of those cinema style features right here in the GH5. So these exposure tools like the waveform, histogram, and the zebras, a lot of times those are only found on cinema style cameras. So having these options right here in the GH5 are just ways to make better videos. So I would encourage you, if you're beginning on the GH5, learn these tools like the waveform, histogram, and zebras. If you want a quick intro into it, I've got an exposure settings video right up here. But use these tools that the GH5 gives you to get the best possible image that you can. Now, I know that the GH5 is not a cinema camera technically, but there's just so many cinema style features that the GH5 gives you that I'm almost convinced that it is a cinema camera. Definitely one of the best cinema style cameras for the price point and size. So what are your thoughts? Is the GH5 really a cinema camera? Let me know down in the comments. Also, I just passed 4K subs. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. I really enjoy being part of this GH5 community. Let's keep talking about the GH5. Let's keep using the GH5 and let's make some awesome content with it. Well, it'd be awesome if you stuck around, maybe watch one of these videos that's popping up on your screen right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.